Yeah. Hi, folks, and welcome to a more civilized age. Where are my regular co hosts? Well, I planned it just perfectly as the hurricane was hitting them. They both lost internet or had faulty internet connections, could not make it today. Meg let me know first, and then Ryan just an hour earlier of going on, or 45 minutes earlier of going on, which thankfully, Marcel has nothing better to do with his life. I will say that everyone else just turned me down, said, yeah, Brian Borg, he has to go, count sand at the beach or something. Everyone has their own little things. Alex is working on his paper mache Palpatine. I don't even know why you'd want one of those, but he got it anyway. Brennan's trying to cure his brother from his soft serve ice cream addiction. There's so much going around with EU fans. Mr. Lowry, Arthur Lowry, got wed, you know. So, and then Mr. Spencer Crilly, as of this recording, is celebrating a birthday over the past weekend. He did.
Happy birthday.
I know. Happy birthday to him, and congratulations to everyone except for Alex. Marcel, thank you so much for coming in. Literally last minute, less than an hour to go. So I appreciate you going up to bat here.
I had nothing better to do.
I know. Got busted by me. No, it's been a while. I haven't seen you in a while, and we haven't chatted. So you're perfect here for this. And first off, we did have something planned. Meg and Ryan, honestly enough, I was actually going to say nothing about the topic. I'm going to keep that topic for next month. We're going to do it next month. But Meg and Ryan, I ran it by them after our last stream, and they said, yeah, we can do one. I said, okay, because if we do that, I will have 2 sentences to say, and that will be it. So you guys got to lead it. I'll go with questions. And of course, my 2 people who were supposed to carry the conversation on a specific topic that I know nothing about were not here. So we'll move that topic back. We're just going to shoot the breeze with it. There's a few things that I wanted to talk about. Marcel is, he's ready to go because he can talk about anything, which is why we love him so much. One of the things, as of this recording, I was recently on a stream with Alex, and they were doing, and something I always love, and I see it on Brandon's channel, I've seen it on your channel before, this page by page, deep dive review of a comic book, of whatever. And he was doing it on the Marvel comic books. They're going through the old Marvel comic books page by page, talking about the art, talking about the artist, giving some fun facts about details on certain pages. And then they're sitting there wondering, hey, what type of alien is that? Someone in the background was doing research. He goes, oh, guys, I think that's supposed to be a whatever. No, that doesn't look like one. No, that looks nothing like one. Well, yeah, but back then, who's to say? It's close enough. And they're looking at a blue-skinned alien. Okay, Marvel just had a blue-skinned alien with white hair. But guess what? George Lucas in episode 3 dressed up as a blue-skinned alien. So they said, hey, maybe she's part of that race. It makes sense. It fits, And some of these were never, I don't know if you remember the old, I think it was the Star Wars Gamer, or maybe the Star Wars Insider, that did a bunch of articles about explaining Marvel characters, the aliens.
Yeah, I think it was.
Profile pic on them.
Yeah, and that explained what happened to some of them. I think it might have been Gamer. Yeah,
I think it was. But I loved when those articles came out. I was like, oh my gosh, they're explaining these aliens that we saw one off here, or they were, but never got explained before. And I always find it interesting, and I don't know if you remember this, but the Insider back in the day did a picture from episode 1 and circled a guard in the background, said, what's his story? Send us your ideas and we'll post. And I was like, oh man. And I thought they literally meant write a story about that guard. And what they meant was just write a story about a background character, give it, and we'll probably publish it. That was awesome. Back in the day, if I had a second shot, I would have tried my hand at it. But explaining the background, the details, because here are these guys talking about, what do you think that alien is? Has that alien ever been described? I wonder what this alien is supposed to be. And only an EU fan that loves Star Wars so much, they asked that question.
Right.
That question was answered to us during Tales from Mos Eisley, Tales from Jabba's Palace. I'm skipping Tales of the Bounty Hunters because it kind of, well, we didn't know the background story, so that one too. But those two especially, because how many times did we watch that Mos Eisley scene and go, "Ooh, there's a space werewolf? What? What is that ghoul-looking guy? And what are they? Oh, wow, is that a devil? What is that?" You kind of did that. And I remember when this book came out, Tales from Mos Eisley, and I read, I was like, this is incredible. I thought I was floored. I didn't know what to expect. And now I went back, I remember, and watched the cantina scene on my DVD. And it was like, oh, it was like hitting pause because now I know all their backstories.
Yeah.
And the same thing with Jabba's Palace.
Yeah, I actually just reread Tales from Jabba's Palace because I was traveling last week. And so I reread it on the trip because it's been years since I read it last. And there's a murder mystery that you kind of solve throughout every single one of the stories. It adds to that murder mystery. And you finally figure out like who did it at the end, right? There's like a dead person that shows up, and you only find out like 6 or 7 stories later who killed that person. And I thought that was such an interesting convention that weaves its way throughout each of the stories, because each of them has like an anchoring point, right? So Tales from Mos Eisley, the anchoring point is when Luke and Obi-Wan walk into the bar. Yeah. And then Tales from Jabba is like the anchoring point is when, Luke, Han, or I guess Luke and Leia show up at Jabba's palace.
Right.
And all the stories just play around those points. This is my introduction to the expanded universe. I used to go the essential guide to characters. And I would read, I'd flip and see, there's that character Ifont Mon, the elephant. Yeah. He has this huge backstory. I was like, where's this backstory coming from? This is a guy who's on screen for 2 minutes. And then you find out that there's the Tales from books and that they have these rich, elaborate backstories for every single character. It's amazing. And then you go back and you watch those scenes and there's so much more meaning. It's like when I read Darth Plagueis and then I go back and watch The Phantom Menace and it takes on a whole different meaning for me, that movie.
Yeah. I wanted a Tales prequels, and I thought the first one would be on the pod racers, which was explained in a web strip collected in Wild Space. What all the pod racers were doing, but Tales of the Pod Racers. I wanted for episode 2 when Obi-Wan and Anakin go into that bar to find Zam Wesell.
The Outlander Club.
Yeah, the Outlander Club. I wanted Tales from the Outlander Club for episode 2. Who were all those people? And then for 3, I thought about Tales from the Opera House that Palpatine visited, all those background characters again. Who were they? What was it? George Lucas's character can have his own story now. Well, I wanted more tales.
Do I have some news for you? There is a collection that's coming out. It's fan fiction. It's all fan fiction written by fans, but Tales from the Pod Racers, and then there's going to be a Tales from the Outlander Club and Tales from the Opera House. And the Pod Racers one it's mostly done. Like a bunch of us have written stories for it. Brennan's written one. Nick, do you know Nick? He was Ken Palpatine. He goes by online. He's not. Yeah. There's 2 Kens, but okay. Nick. Yeah. He's the one putting it all together, the effort. And so I wrote the Ben Quadernero story in the Tales from the Pod Racers.
Now, did you happen to tie it in with all this information out there, like the web strips?
Yeah. So the Tales from the Pod Racers, or I think it's called Pod Racing Tales, is the the source Wild material that Wild Space 2 is we all use. So my story's 4 parts. The first part is right out of the comic, like line for line. He gets into this bet with Bull's Roar, and then he Bull's is like, oh,
what he's doing, gets
in over his head, and so like that's the whole thing. So that's the anchoring point. I don't know, check it out. I'll send you a copy. I'll make you a copy. I'll send you one.
Yeah. The only reason I bought Wild Space 2, I cared about nothing. All the spoof comic books are put in there. I get what they were doing. Some people wanted all the tag and Bink stuff. I don't care about that. In fact, to this day, I don't think I've read that much of them. I don't remember anything of it either. But I wanted it for Pod Racing Tales 2. And I was disappointed because I felt that, and I don't know if they had the rights, but I also wanted them to get all the online web strips from StarWars.com. And I was thinking they should put those in Star Wars Tales and a bunch of other little, at the time, we didn't have the Hasbro comics and the stuff like that.
Right.
I thought all that should have gone to Wild Space 2 and was very disappointed to see they just did a bunch of, the goofy ones. the spoofs or whatnot. Because Wild Space, the first one, just had everything I never thought I would never thought. I just gave up trying to collect those comic books. And then when Wild Space came out, I read the description. I was like, no way. No
Yeah.
way. That was a
The
huge mark off my list of stuff I thought I'd never get.
the first one was the Marvel UK stuff, right? Like the really,
It was
really
like the
hard.
pizzazz and all
The
that stuff.
pizzazz, yeah.
It's impossible to find.
Yeah.
This is back in the day, too. This is back before Disney took it over. And I thought, I just looked at that whole laundry list and went, I'll never do it. I'll never get it all. And then when Wild Space came out, I was like, oh,
Yeah.
this is everything. And I was so impressed.
I love collections like that because it just undercuts this crazy market out there where you try and buy these things and they're so expensive. And for me, because I'm not in the US, shipping is just terrible.
Oh, it's terrible. Yeah, and I would never, if we're talking about the Marvel comic books, I did for 1 second think maybe I should collect them all. No. Yeah. Why not get the trades? There's some beautiful trades out there. I mean, Marvel even reprinted some trades. And I'll be honest, those hardback editions they have, zero complaints. In fact, I will gladly admit those are much better than the Dark Horse ones I have. The Dark Horse trades were all over the place. Like I said, only during my initial review did I find out I was missing 4 issues of Droids because I had all the Droids trade paperbacks, but they skipped over 4 issues for some reason.
So you had to immediately go and buy them then.
I had to immediately go and buy them. It's a terrible story, but I read it anyway. And then the other one I didn't have was I didn't buy Empire. I stopped buying Empire a long time ago. It pissed me off. And so I went back and bought all the trades from where I stopped. And they didn't put in Empire 18, the one with Boba Fett. They saved that one for a Boba Fett collection. Why? This is Empire trades. And so I never knew I was missing that and had never read it until I was doing my first review and went, wait, where is it? And I looked through all my trades. It wasn't there. I was like, you are kidding me. And Dark Horse was notorious for leaving things out for no apparent reason. Their trade paperbacks were all over the place. It was a mess most of the time.
Yeah.
And I hear Marvel is doing a marvelous job putting in unprinted stuff and everything else. It's just been I've been really impressed by what I've seen and heard by their collections because you want to have, of course, a complete collection.
Yeah. My hat's off to Mike Hansen. I met him at Legends Con last year, and he's really the guy at Marvel behind putting these collections together and just getting a chance to talk to him. You could tell for him, it's a labor of love, right? I think that some people have some issues with, some of the Infinities comics getting mixed in with, or the Tales comics getting mixed in with just, comics that are canon to the EU, but he's really good about just making sure that they fit timeline wise and putting things where it should be. And I think we've all benefited from it for sure. It's kept the interest in EU comics alive these past 10 years. And they keep doing reprints because people want these comics.
People keep selling. Yeah, they keep selling.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, that, and one of the things, and again, going back to Alex's stream, and I hate that I'm talking so good about Alex. You almost think I like him. But I went back and watched the rest, skipped over my part, but watched the rest of it, the stuff I missed and the stuff afterwards. And I just love the attention to detail, the asking the curious questions. That is the EU fan. They want to know this stuff. Some people laugh and say, what does it matter? I don't care about that. Of course you don't care. That's fine. But there are some people who do. They love it so much that every little detail needs to be explained. We can't get enough. One great example, and I spoke to you about this before we went live, was I still love. There is never, because I thought about doing a Supernatural Encounters book. I said, we're going to wait. But then about halfway through with y'all's, I was like, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it because there's nothing better than y'all's chapter by chapter review.
Yeah.
Going through it, studying it, talking about, and it exactly points to what we're talking about here. The attention to detail of an EU fan. Y'all were just geeking out in the best way about, wow, now we finally know this, or wow, what a connection.
Yeah.
I never would have thought to make that makes so much sense. Or wow, we finally figure out what this character was, or how they explain this. I love this explanation. Now it makes sense. Those continuity patches and everything. And you were sad, you were happy, you were excited, you felt every sentence. you geeked out over. And man, that is the essence of an EU fan. Now, yeah, that is dark down the iceberg. I will tell you that. But at the same time, and I'm not saying you're not a real Star Wars fan if you don't like supernatural encounters. No, I just think you are going all the way. And I know I feel this way because I'm a big Tolkien fan, and so much so that I've read History of Middle Earth at least twice, maybe 3 times, Silmarillion several times. I love the details.
Yeah.
Any chicken scratch note. I just bought one again this year because the guy I was finally convinced, okay, this is something new. And I did learn a few things I hadn't learned before. I was like, ooh, just 1 or 2, not too much. But I was like, that was interesting. And I always like pulling away little details from a world that I love so much. And to be honest, I don't know what else they could have from Tolkien's. I know that I don't remember the name of her channel right now, and I'm so sorry. Miss Martin Muses, I think, is the name of her channel. But Teresa does this thing where she reads off letters from Tolkien.
Yes. I've seen that.
You see these, and they're responding to questions fans put to him.
Yeah.
I love that. I love it. I had to comment on one because it was about the Entwives, the last one I think she did as of this video. That I was like, wow, I never knew that before. But that was so interesting to me. That kind of stuff. I love the detail. I love the details of it because I love that world. We as fans of the expanded universe, we love our detail. We love that world.
Yeah, I mean, doing that stream was a lot of fun, and I miss those days because it was like it reminded me of when I was a kid, and a new Jedi Order book would drop, and I would just put everything aside and start reading it, and oh my God, what's going to happen next to Anakin and Jason and Jaina, and just being so invested in that mystery and those those characters.
Yeah, it was a long-awaited celebration of something we've been looking forward to for quite some time, and it paid off in spades. I imagine the same thing's going to happen we've gotten some Ewok comic books that were nice, or short stories in Germany, which I didn't know. They did the same thing in the UK.
Yeah.
The Ewok Annual 2 has the same type short stories. So that was really fun. I can't remember who I was talking to. I want to say it was Scott Johnson. But the Hungarian Han Solo books are translated. Okay. I know they're smoothing it out. And I know they finished 1. They may have finished 2 or 3. I heard they were taking a break. I don't know where they are on that. I honestly believe they're finished right now. I don't know. I honestly believe they're finished. But I also think that Joe is saving this and putting it out one by one. And Scott and I were talking about how much we like that idea. Instead of just blow it all up at once, now there's something else. Hopefully, my hope would be that we would see Hungarian Han Solo this year. I don't know. But those are what I like to call quasi-canon. We all know the story. Well, a lot of us know the story. If people don't, Valhalla Publishing over in
was it Hungary?
Hungary, duh. Hungarian Han Solo novels. I just said that. Hungary had the publishing rights to publish Star Wars books.
Yeah.
They did not have the rights to create it. Now, according to Valhalla Publishing, they just oopsie, big mistake. Did they know? Probably. But this is back when contracts were a little loosey-goosey, because they got away with it for years until Lucasfilm caught wind of it and put a cease and desist on them. So I feel like they probably cheated, read between the lines, tried to cheat, but they did. The author of these did his best, and I feel so bad for him because he thought he was so excited that he got to continue Brian Daley's trilogy, which meant a lot to him.
Yeah.
And reading the first one, it is in line with the feel of the Han Solo Brian Daley books. Not as good as Brian Daley's, but you definitely feel like you're in that Brian Daley world. And better yet, they do not contradict canon. These are just one-off adventures of Han before he met everyone else, before episode 4. And I can't wait to see those. But Scott was telling me, if Joe's just sitting on them, like he's been sitting on the German Ewok comics for quite some time, I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
But he wants to give things a chance. Hey, everyone take a chance, enjoy those. When you're done with that, then I'll give you more. Instead of just throwing it all up at once and us going crazy, consuming it. It's just bringing it out little by little.
Yeah, I don't know where he is with those, but I do know that there is a certain school of thought out there that thinks that new EU, even if it's only quasi or semi-canonical, should be doled out because we just get so little of it these days. And it's like a kid in a candy shop. You get it all at once, you're bound to get sick off of it, right? So I don't know that I particularly ascribe to that school of thought, but I do see the reasoning behind it. I think that as EU fans, like you said, we all want to just get it all at once. We all want to know all the answers and get all the mysteries. And I think something like Supernatural Encounters, because it was such a big book, kind of lent itself to that slow digestion process, right? Like going through it chapter by chapter. I would love to do that again with something a bit bigger than your average length. Like, I think some of like the Ewok comics and stuff like that, that's not long enough to do like a breakdown stream. So, hopefully if at least one of those books is released this year from Joe and the team that's working on them, then we can dig into that. But until then, I think, I don't know. I would really love to maybe do it with Tolkien's works. Maybe like like Christopher Tolkien, I think, wrote The History of Middle Earth. It's like 12-volume set, and I've been collecting them from Amazon. I would love to dive into those, but again, I mean, there needs to be interest, and you need to get the right group of people together to riff off one another. Because if you don't have that chemistry, then it's really hard to have the kind of fun that we were having with those super lit streams.
Yeah, and they were so good, so good.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun.
Well, I mean, it just for me, it was just like watching that, and it was so much fun every stream, and that you went page by page. And I mean, that's just how, and just to see, we're thankful because we finally got a chance. We finally get to see, what was going on in the background. It's like the Silmarillion, and the first age, second age, third age, stuff like that. So that was really fun. But again, if Hungarian Han Solo comes out, I hope it comes out this year. But that's because I just can't wait. I can't wait. After that, though, unless there's a rabbit in that hat,
Escape from Dagu.
There's Escape from Dagu, which I really hope Legends Con invites Bill Dietz. He did write the Kyle Katarn stuff, so the Dark Forces books, and I think he would come because he likes to promote his other books. And if he saw how many fans really care about Escape from Dagu, who knows? We may get that one. That'd be a big fish coming in, and maybe Chris would also release his copy. But on top of that, you still got. I mean, there's a far-flung, even though I doubt he has it, but I'm sure Joe's been peppering him for it. But John Whitman wrote 2 novels of Star Wars fairy tales, Young Jason and Jaina. Then the prequels got announced, and Scholastic went, hold up. We want to do something new canon. And that's where Jedi Apprentice took over. But and last John Whitman told us those were on old floppy disk or zip drives that got thrown away and lost years ago. But if somehow he had a printed out copy of fairy tales.
I don't know.
That would be insane. So I mean, it's getting few and far between the unearthed tales that we've never heard of before. We're getting, I mean, besides the Hungarian Han Solo books, if Escape from Dagu ever comes out, that's basically it. I have not so far. So ever since, what was it, 2013? Ever since then, I have always read something new to the EU. And for me, I'm very particular. It's not I know Joe released like the 3D Star Wars comic book, which I did not know he had not released those. I've had those for quite some time.
Yeah.
And when everyone started making videos of them, I said, that's weird. And then realized they just got no one else had them.
Yeah.
I wasn't keeping that a secret either.
Yeah. I do feel like things are coming out, though. I do feel like it's there are little small things here, but even, John Morton, the guy who played Dak, he wrote a short story about Dak that came out that not published or anything like that, but that he gave people access to earlier this year. Like stuff like that. I don't care that it doesn't have like the official Lucasfilm, publishing seal on it. Like I want to read it. I want to check it out.
No, I do. So. And most of the West End Games stuff is gone. I know Joe posted another West End Games adventure.
Yeah.
It's not a story. It's just one of the unpublished adventures. That's fine. I'm more into the tales stuff. And certain things don't interest me. I like the I can't think of his name right now. It's going to come to me. Andy Mingles or whatever, who
Yeah,
wrote
Andy
Twin Engines of
Mangels.
Destruction. He
Yeah.
came out with it. Hey, here's was my pitch sequel. Time to Pray, Prey.
Yeah, it was
And
like
I
a
was
Jodo
like,
cast story or something like that, I
yeah, and I
think.
was like,
Yeah.
man, yeah, that's the stuff I'm interested in. And we're running out less and less of that. Now, but every year when I think I have it all, there's something new that pops up. So I know Hungarian Han Solo books are next, and then after that, I just got to hope to see what's next. And there will be, there will be. We're on what year number 11 right now, but
Yeah.
there will be a year, won't be this year. Maybe year number 12. I don't know. If a Hungarian Han Solo books come out, maybe year number 13. There will be a time when there won't be any new discoveries. But right now, we are digging for dinosaur bones and we are coming up with some massive finds still to this day. And the thing is, it's not groundbreaking, is what I'm talking about. Okay. German Ewok comic books. I'm so happy there's so many people happy to look over those, and Alex and Brennan do read throughs. But here's the thing, back in the day, only me would have been excited about that.
Right.
Back when they were coming out with regular novels and EU stuff. But now we're just happy to see anything, that even the smallest things, the silliest things are going to be, celebrated. They're going to be celebrated, and they should be. Like, we've explored basically almost every children's book and toy book that came out there at any time.
Right.
Like I can't remember what it is, but Chewbacca Saves the Day. I never even knew that was a short story that came out in a Hasbro Millennium Falcon toy, where Chewie and Han they're dressed as they're it's all cartoony like the toy figures, but it is a story, an EU story of Chewbacca saving the day, and it came out prior to Lucasfilm selling to Disney, so it is EU. And I
Yeah.
love, and Chris showed me. Chris found that one for me. He introduced me to Fuzzy as an Ewok, Shiny as a droid, Star Wars Adventures in Shapes and Colors. Get out of here. I still love that short story. um and I'm looking for more of that. I want to now. I remember there was a book, and I didn't get it, of Jar Jar before he got found by Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan. He was hungry and looking for an egg to eat, and unfortunately, I believe that book is just, those 2 pages, and then has adventures with the droids. But if
Right.
it was a tiny adventure of Jar Jar before he met the Jedi, I would have bought it. Even Jar Jar short stories, I would have
Right.
bought.
Well, I mean, like when you've read all the mainline novels and comics, and you come to a point where you're like, I want more, then the German Ewok comics take on a new significance, right? Because it's like
They do.
that's more. It may not be the most enticing or riveting story that you've ever read. It may not be, I don't know, a New Jedi Order. I'm trying to
No,
think
it's
like
not going to be a new.
Onslaught or Ruin or something like that. But it's it's still something. It's still something new. And like when you have a fan base that hasn't really been catered to for the past decade and a bit, then it makes sense to me that there are people out there that really just get excited about this kind of stuff.
Yeah, so you look at some. I'm on Joe's website, and I'll go ahead and just share, because I want to point something out. I mean, and Joe's been just excellent about this, sharing all this stuff,
Providing
like the
resources,
hyperspace,
yeah.
the third hyperspace story by Ryder Wenham, excellent stuff. And this is what really got me here a long time ago. The unpublished adventure journals, because they had more planned. Unfortunately, they got canceled and didn't get made out, but that stuff had been completed because they were a few months ahead,
Yep.
as always. And so he got all that. This actual promotional comic I have, Battle of Theed. I bought that. I think that's Wizard of the Coast. I bought it only for this, and it's just a few pages long.
Yeah.
Same thing for a Dark Strider campaign. The first chapter written by Timothy Zahn.
Yeah.
Got
So
that too.
that Battle for Theed, someone in the fandom, a friend who I don't know if they want to be named, gave me a copy just out of the blue, sent it to me. And I was like, wow, this thing's probably, it's like a 3-page comic, but it's probably worth like, $50, $60, $70.
I know. It's kind of funny, and I'm glad Joe put this hard to find stuff for sale.
Yeah.
But I remember buying this. A guy had a bunch of RPG stuff, and when I started buying all the RPG, I went by his store, and he sold me it all at cost. And this one it was cheap. I got this for $5, I want to say.
Yeah.
And because the Wizard of the Coast stuff was basically crap to RPG players, they did not like Star Wars Wizard of the Coast. And so all of that stuff, and some of that stuff's super expensive, but he was selling it for me at cost or below. And this is one he gave $5 on. I was like, oh, because I mean, it said at first I was going to just put it aside, but then I saw, a story by Michael Stackpole, that goes to the top of the collection there.
Yeah, of course.
And it was nothing but a 3-page The Adventure Begins. But to be honest, the first RPG I think I ever bought when it came out was the Dark Strike campaign, because it said on the cover, it said first chapter written by Timothy Zahn. I said, done. Sold me immediately.
Yeah, that's one thing actually that surprised me about those Tales books, because you have Zahn writing for he wrote the Mara story and Tales from Jabba, and I think he had the Tonica sisters and Tales from Mos Eisley, but they never got Stackpole to write any of the Tales from maybe he did in Bounty Hunters. I don't remember. I don't think so.
I don't believe so. Kevin, to my knowledge, Kevin was in charge, and Kevin got a lot of his friends involved, who were Jennifer Robeson, who wrote the Jericho stories.
Yeah.
In both Tales books. She also, I don't know what else she wrote, but she wrote a few Highlander novels.
Okay.
So she'd been known in the sci-fi worlds. That's how, or science fiction fantasy worlds. That's how he got him in. And back in the day, Bantam, Kevin J. Anderson was Bantam's man. Kind of like how Troy Denning became Del Rey's man to kind of head things up a little bit. It started with Lucino, and then the baton got handed on to Denning.
Those I was gonna say, those Jennifer Robeson stories make my skin crawl. Constant talking about soup and
they were really good. Some of her Highlander book is good. It's not my favorite one, but it was good. But when I saw her name, I went, wait a minute, what? I started going, oh wait. Like there is the guy who wrote Scourge,
Jeff Grubb.
Jeff Grubbs. Okay, I'm playing a board game. Jeff Grubbs' name is on it as the creator. And I went, it's a Buck Rogers game from the 80s. I went, no way. And it is. It's the same Jeff Grubbs who wrote Scourge.
Yeah, he wrote a bunch of D&D and Magic the Gathering stuff too, I think.
He did.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, the connection, those names call out to us. But other things I'm happy he came up with. The web strips of the Clone Wars. Great stuff.
Yeah.
Well, I've had this stuff printed out. Back in the day when I'd find it, I used to hit print on my printer. And I printed out all this stuff, and I never saved a copy. If it was on a zip drive or floppy, zip drives back then, which I thought would never go away. And those are gone. The UK stories here. The recovered message from the prison barge, which I have. Stormtrooper tweets.
The TK tweets are interesting.
Yeah.
Because it's like, there was this period in like the mid 2000s when they're like, oh, let's use like social media to engineer viral excitement for these things, right? Like when Lost, that TV show, came out, they had like all these mysteries online that you can go and try and dig through and solve. But the TK tweets are kind of like of that same school. And it's interesting, because you have something that theoretically could be considered canon to the EU that ties into the stories, but the only place you could find it is on Twitter, and not even anymore, right? Like they had to
Twitter account and everything.
Yeah.
So here is wow. Well, those are old sheets. Remember us talking about our favorite unpublished books there? Okay. I don't think it's no, I threw it away. But here is the only living copy of Escape from Endor. Return to Endor. Matt's fan fiction novel he wrote back in '99.
So wait, the only living you haven't put in your Tales from the Galaxy collection or anything like that?
No, I in fact back during the big day of Prince of the Universe, I used to read off chapters as a joke at the beginning of our podcast way back in the day. And it's so bad that I need to rewrite it if I ever get the time or if I make the time. But yeah, so it's something I remember I wrote out. And then if you look, here's all my notes I scratched some reason highlighted in different colors of what I did all my background study on the Ewok movies and stuff like this, and any source books I could find that could
Yeah.
get like one RPG. I remember had the wedding vows of Wicked and Kanisha. They're written down somewhere in here, but I wrote everything I could find and put it in this little folder. And there used to be a little zip drive where I made a backup copy. And I guess I threw away the zip drive years ago. But yeah, the only copy.
You should take better care of that. I'm sure if you auction that off, there would be some interest for it.
This was lost years ago during my move here, and then I finally found it again. And I thought for a joke, maybe I should just do a live read through again of it. But it needs to be punched up a whole lot, because back then I was still in college, and I hated writing, but I just was so inspired by Star Wars that I wanted to, write my own story, and I wanted to continue the Ewok story.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted. So that's why I had it there. But I mean, again, fans, and now I've got to take away a lot of the tie-ins I had, because some of them have already been tied in. On top of that, I even have additional ideas of certain things. For example, we're going to sidebar here. I'll stop sharing here. For example, rewatching Ewoks, the cartoon.
Yeah.
There is a magician who has a magic ring, right? Who can transform the Ewoks into totem
poles. Yeah, I just watched that episode recently.
Totem master. Okay.
With my kid.
Are you ready? So the totem master got destroyed, right?
Yeah.
Didn't he turn into a totem or whatever?
I think so in the end.
Okay.
Yeah.
So where's his ring? Well, guess what? Sherelle found it. The Dothamor witch. She has the same red ring in Battle for Endor. Right. And what does she do? She uses it to transform into a crow. It's a transformation ring. It's Sith alchemy at its best. This wizard or whatever probably got it a long time ago in a trade, passed it's an old Republic ring.
Yeah.
When he got tricked by the Ewoks, she came along, found it, picked it up, and she used it to transform into a bird. And in Return to Endor, what happens is, remember, Tarok has the ring encased in his petrified body.
Right.
It's been turned to stone. And so my idea was that she's been pecking on that fist for years, but she can't crack it.
Yeah.
Because it's stone, and she's in bird form forever until she gets that ring out. So what happens is, as Noah takes an aged Noah back to Endor, because he doesn't like the city life. He's tried it. He wants peace and quiet. He wants to go back home. Endor is now home because all his friends are dead and everything. So Sindel agrees to take him back home.
Yeah.
And the Ewoks, he goes back to his hut, which was burned down, but the Ewoks are going to help him rebuild it, and he's going to help. But also he sees Tarok, the statue of Tarok. He's mad. Oh, I say that Tika's died. Because they don't live that long. So even his oldest friend is now gone, and he has no one. And Tarok was the whole reason that kind of ruined his life, right? He got stranded. His buddy got captured with the device. And so Tarok's the reason he was stranded for so long, and all his friends died or left. And so he gets mad and cracks down, just demolishes the petrified remains into pulp. And guess who's watching? The crow Sherelle, who finally, now she can get the ring out of the rubble and transform back. And now she's back, and she's going to get revenge on the Ewoks, Noah, and Sindel while they're here.
You've thought about this for a while, I can see.
I planned it all out, but I have to take out a few things, because Morag's army, her evil users, they're gone. So I had them in it, but they're gone. Basically, Morag was kind of put away forever. And the Dulocs eventually made peace.
That's right.
With the Ewoks, as we know. So Sherelle's going to have to put together whatever leftover marauders that are left. And there aren't that many. They don't have a leader anymore, so they're kind of just bums. But she kind of rallies them around her and only uses them as a distraction so that she can get to and maybe pisses off some flogs from the cartoon series, to run ramp. She is just creating chaos however she can so that she can sneak on board the ship. All she wants to do is sneak on board and get away. But
Escape.
she
Yeah.
can't help it. She wants revenge on Sindel and Noah, so she's planning to kill them and then
You know,
escape. So that's the
it's
whole plot.
we should write it,
Well,
rewrite it.
yeah, we'll write it. We'll write it. We'll sit down and make it happen. But I mean, that's the EU fan. Wheels always turning. We're trying to find an explanation. What do we know? What can we do? What can we connect to? Joe did a lot of those connections, which I really appreciated. One of the ones was the Ewok cartoon, how it's from the Ewoks' point of view. The mountain's
Yeah.
not crying; the rivers are just running down it. But to Ewoks, that's the mountain crying. Because what if a tribe? There's a tribe what off some island off Africa or whatever that has not been touched, right, by civilization.
Yes. Yeah. It's like
Yeah,
south.
New Guinea or wherever they are. But if they see a plane, what do they think it is? They think it's a giant screaming bird or vulture or demon. They don't know what that is. So in their mind, they're seeing something completely different. So when we're seeing about all these, magical things talking to them, it could be that's from their viewpoint.
Right. Or like, how like a crashing plane could be like a flaming bird or something. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Same thing.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I love ideas like that, but I love tying in more stuff like that. Like just on the stream, we mentioned, I mentioned the one alien. I'd love to know who he was the 3PO in the 3PO's commercial. And then Scott made the quip, or someone made the quip. I'd love to see where does that fit into the EU. I said, well, easy. When he's working for Star Tours, they were trying to sell as many products as they could, so they made some 3POs. Didn't sell worth of crap, so they had to dump their stock in them. But at least they filmed that little commercial where he sales pitched it during Star Tours. Everything can make sense. In fact, I'd love to have a Star Tours adventure. It's a simulated adventure that goes wrong. Something goes wrong with the tour. That kind of. In fact, I'm shocked that no one at Disney World thought about making their own unique little story about Star Tours when it came out, because that would have been an excellent story. And I would have bought it. I would have bought it at Disney World. I would have tracked that sucker down.
Let me ask you, because there are some people out there, there's a lot of people out there who think that, all these connections like make the universe smaller, right? Like they really like make it like seem more artificial or smaller or anything like that. I mean, I've never really ascribed to that because for me, it's like the connections are what makes it worthwhile and makes it matter and rewards people for consuming and reading more of it. And I've always liked that aspect of it. I like that it ties everything closer together. I think in like a galaxy where the Force exists, for me, it just makes sense that there's all these types of connections and people have destiny and that kind of thing. But I'm just curious, what do you think about that criticism?
Well, the key word is I don't think it does. In fact, it ties it all together, and you nailed it. It rewards the reader.
Yeah,
we want to see these connections. Some people don't like if we don't have to know everything. You don't feel like you have to know everything, and for those people, that's fine. You don't feel you have to go the whole way. You don't feel you have to read it. I get that. That's great. Okay, but at the same time, for us, we really want to know everything. We really like to see connections, completeness. Remember, this is an expanding universe, not just expanded. There's so much room for growth.
Yeah.
We did a series on theexpanduniverse.com. We need to do another one, by the way. I keep saying that. But we did one on missed opportunities.
Yes.
Since that time, I could probably come up with 10 more ideas, and you could too. We'll do a part 2 on this.
We'll do a part 2 for sure.
But the thing is, though, there's so many directions and so many tales they could, not of Han, Luke, and Leia, not of the main storyline, not of the Clone Wars, please, none of the Clone Wars, but other stories that could be told that would be intriguing. We need that type of story. We need those type of tales again, those type of stories again. People want to know. A long time ago, when Twin Sons tried to get the rights to do just short stories, because we couldn't get into, during the pandemic, couldn't get into hospitals or schools. Man, I wish they would have given them the rights, because then we would have petitioned every author saying, hey, for charity, Could you give us a short story? We have
Right.
Lucasfilm's commission right here, and then shoot, Stackpole and Anderson. Who knows who else would have submitted stories?
Sure.
Okay, for
Yeah.
charity. And on top of that, I told Brian, if this goes through, then you better guarantee I'm going to write something, and everyone else is going to write something, connecting, not making up our own Luke story. It's going to be small, out of the way stories that don't disrupt the canon at all, but are interesting stories on the same. And of course, we're after our 1 year was we wanted with X. If they would have said 1 year, you could do one story a week. We plan out the 52 stories and then have our unpublished 76 other stories that we never got around to doing.
Sure.
The quasi canon rule.
Well, what do you say to the other criticism that I'm just curious that if you get all these connections and you have these stories revealing mysteries, like there's no, like, people like that mystery aspect and they don't like it when the mystery is revealed.
There's always mystery. Now, here's the thing. Do I want to know if Darth Bane escaped, his essence escaped into Darth Xana or not? I can go without, I know what Drew Carvershin said. I can go without knowing.
Yeah.
However, if a story came out to tell me what happened at the end, I'd read it.
Sure.
I'd read it. Do I want to know what happened to goodness gracious.
Well, I got one for you. Like Star Killer.
Yes, yeah, I do. Now,
Sure.
That wasn't meant to be a cliffhanger, but yes, I do. Do I want to know the conclusion of Science Adventures Book 3? Yes, I do.
What about Yoda's backstory? Do you want to know Yoda's where his people, where they come from?
Sure.
Really?
Now,
okay.
The thing is, do they have to explain every story? Like, we still haven't gotten the story of how what Han did to save Chewie. For some reason, that was off limits. That and Yoda.
Yeah, Yoda.
Species and backstory. Which, by the way, I don't know why it's still off limits. Even though George isn't around, you think they do that now.
Well, it's probably best left alone. I don't know. I trust.
That's fine. Not every rock has to be unturned, but to be honest, even if they flip those rocks over, there's a million other things we don't know about this universe.
For sure. But I agree with you.
And I understand that. Well, then there's no more mystery left. And people love to have their mystery, love to have their surprises. That's fine. I'm not saying every little thing has to be on time, but if they want to do it, I'm ready to listen. I'm ready to watch. It's not like they can't build. And the thing is, if the EU were still going today, we would have different sections, different histories, different timelines we could be talking about right now and how they're connecting. And the world would be ever expanding. An expanding universe is what it should have been called, because it was never done growing. It was never done growing. We were never going to see the limits of that. If Lucasfilm would have played it smart, they would have shot their 7, 8, and 9 in 200 years into the future.
Sure.
Say, when's the last thing that happened? Legacy? What was that? 150? Okay, we're going to go 200. So now, forget everything you learned. I would have followed them. I would have followed the new canon at that point. At that point, if they would have said, we're keeping it, but we're pushing everything in the future.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, I don't know. I feel like there was never any universe in which they were going to keep the EU as their story. But I mean, that's just my cynicism speaking. I don't know. There are other IPs that they've honored or kept the previous lore that came before, and I think there was so much opportunity to do that here, and they just didn't do it. There was actually an article that I was going to write for expandinguniverse.com, which I still will write sometime this calendar year, but it was about a mystery. Who are, because Luke's his first 12 students, we don't know all of them. We only know the first 10 that have been revealed through different sources. And so, like, who are those last 2 students, right? And like, do we know them? Have we ever met them? And I have like some candidates that they could be, like, even reading back through the Marvel comics or thinking about like who was in his academy around that time. And that's one mystery that has always appealed to me. And I know I've talked about it on like a couple other streams, but as a kid, I just wanted to know, because when I read I, Jedi, one of your favorite books, I, Jedi, came out and it reveals that Corrin was one of Luke's first 12 students. Never would have thought that in a million years. And so I got invested in this mystery. And then when I went to Legends Con, I asked Abel Pena about it, and Abel's like, you got to ask Dan Wallace. So now I'm going to ask Dan Wallace and hopefully find out who those two students are.
I would love to see that. Again, that's a, now I remember we did a article on the Expanding Universe. I did articles on expandinguniverse.com guessing Luke's first class. And then after that was done, I wrapped it up with a another one, guessing Luke's second class, which Zach and Tasha Randa, Ken Palpatine was in there. I don't believe Ken was Kenneth later on, but I would like
Kenneth Hamner. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And the thing is, though, I would like to hear if Paul and Haas Davis, maybe they won't have an answer for this, but what do they think happened to Ken? What do they, if they could paint the story of the universe, what would they say? What would they say?
Yeah. I would love to hear if they've heard anything, because I'm sure they probably don't keep up with any of that stuff, right? But like, hey, did you guys hear anything throughout the years, like throughout about the story, and like what really like stuck with you or struck? Because I know, like, you know, Matt Stover, for instance, said he heard some stuff that had happened after NJO and he was not a big fan of it. And that always interests me, is when other authors hear about stuff that comes after them and like what's their perspective on it, right? Because I don't expect any of them to be invested in the lore, although it sounds like some of them were. Like Lucino kept up with what was going on. Stover did to a large extent too. But they knew generally what the story was after their time. And it's always interesting to get their perspective on. That's another EU mystery, is what did they all think of each other?
Oh, exactly. There's so many mysteries out there that, you know, and so many, and who knows what else someone has in their back file that they think no one cares about.
Mm-hmm.
Bill Dietz seriously thinks that not that many people would care about Escape from Daegu. If he was to show up at Legends Con, people listen up. If he was to show up at Legends Con, I think that's a smart move, because not only does he have fans that appreciate older works, and maybe new fans that'll follow his new stuff because he's still an active writer, but at the same time, he can finally see, kind of like how Kenneth C. Flint said, do people still care about this? Yeah, they do. They do. They care about that book. They care about that story.
Yeah, or even Sean Stewart, who was surprised that as many people cared about Yoda Dark Rendezvous.
Exactly, which was a great pick. And I think that would just be an awesome way to convince them to, because he's a great guy. I've talked to Bill a couple of times. This public knowledge. Joe and I, a long time ago, were trying to get him to cough it up, and I showed him a basic book contract that said that he could release it, not make money off it if they didn't publish it. I said, this is a standard contract. You probably have signed one of these too. And he did not have his contract to look at, and again, he got paid in full for that book.
Yeah.
So technically he sold it. So he feels like he can't publish it. But, and I get it. You don't want to bite the hand that could feed you. That's a publisher, big publisher. You want to be on good terms with publishers. You never know when they may come a calling, you know, to give you book money. And I get that, but at the same time, I don't think they would care. I think.
Well, I mean, look, I'm not. I don't know what went on behind the scenes, but if it were me and all of this had sort of, I would just go to the rights holder and say, "Hey, I've been thinking of releasing this on my website."
They would,
you know, or maybe like, hey, like, you know, for charity or something. Did I do that?
Del Rey would have zero problem, because they've moved on past that. But you look at that comes out, and that's a thunderstorm. That is as big, if not bigger, than Heart of the Jedi.
Yeah, Del Rey might not have a problem, but would Lucasfilm have a problem? I don't know.
I don't think they would, because they haven't had a problem with Heart of the Jedi or Tom Beach's Lightsider. Lightsider coming out, and those are probably two of the biggest ones.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if there's any other. Have you heard rumors or anything else about anything else that may possibly be back out there?
No, that's actually written. No, I haven't. I mean, you know, we keep. I feel like as a fandom, we just keep rehashing like the same old things. Like we talk about Mandorla, but nothing was ever written, right? We talk about Blood Oath. I don't think anything was ever written there. I think Elaine Cunningham said like she no longer. Oh wait, was that Margaret Weiss?
No. Margaret Weiss wrote stuff, but it's lost on her old
Okay.
computer.
Yeah, that's
Same thing
yeah,
with Elaine Cunningham. She
yeah,
had written some of it, but she was experiencing medical issues, health issues, and she just couldn't get it out in time. She couldn't
yeah.
make the deadline. And so it is an unfinished novel, I believe.
Well,
That,
even Matt
yeah,
Stover said he wrote the first 10,000 words of Imperial Commando 2 or whatever, uh, whatever the next book was.
yeah, Imperial Commando 2, yeah.
Yeah, and and then I think at that point is when he got sick and he couldn't write anymore. But like, do those 10,000 words still exist? I'm sure they're heavily unedited, but like I would love to read them nonetheless, right? I would love to read Matt Wilkins's Return to Endor adventure there,
I'll have
1999
to,
version.
I'll have to work. No, the 99 version sucks, but I would have to revisit that. But the
Yeah.
thing is, though, I won't. The thing is, with me publishing it, with you writing stories, with your fan, I love fan fiction. Good fan fiction is something to collect, but it's never going to be accepted by the masses unless you have some type of credit to your name. Joe Bongiorno wrote several things, worked for Lucasfilm several times. He's got a name. Rich Handley
Oh yeah,
has a
for
name.
sure, for sure.
Unpublished stuff. Tennessee Flint wrote short stories
Yeah,
and enough. He has a name. I mean, if someone like Michael Stackpole said, "Hey, I wrote this, Corn Horn short story," it's not canon, guys, but here it would be canon in everyone's heart.
yeah. I think it would be universally accepted if it came from someone of like Stackpole's caliber, and um,
And and I would love. Now they won't do that. You got to get paid to play. That's their art. They don't give it away for free. But someone with, I have a feeling that John Whitman is a huge EU fan, or was, just based off his Galaxy of Fear stuff and his involvement with RPG stuff. And I wonder if he would even attempt at rewriting some of that stuff or rewriting adventure stuff. Because even something like that, I'd be interested in any of that type of stuff. I
yeah,
mean, yes, I am looking for black market, unlicensed, very highly illegal stuff. If we got to go print the book out in China because they
guy's
don't
gonna
ever they don't
open
ever
his
copyright China. So we just put on one of those Chinese, have them sell it from on eBay on China. China sells a bunch of those knockoff Disney products. They don't
yeah,
get sued one iota.
you
So
gotta
we can sell some knockoff EU books. Boom.
he's gonna open up one side of his trench coat and have just like paperback books just stuffed in different pockets.
You're close to my age. Do you remember
Yeah,
Sesame Street, the
yeah, of
guy in the
course.
trench coat who tried to sell Ernie the number 8?
Yeah,
Hey, want to buy an 8? Dude, still funny today. But you know what? I would in a heartbeat. I would
yeah,
be a proud owner of the underground illegal EU authors ring. If Stackpole wanted to write something and we put it under someone else's name, I'm totally fine with that. And I'll
yeah,
just say, you want to read it. You know, I don't care. I'm totally for it because I love this world. I want to see this world taken care of. And I feel like people in authority like that could get it done. And I mean, the authors who would do it, but wouldn't at the same time, are the ones who've been spited by Lucasfilm. There's some authors out there. What's his face? Alan Dean Foster got his paycheck, but a lot of other authors didn't. They've got screwed. They have no love for Lucasfilm. You know, would they? Would they? It's public knowledge, I think. But Drew Karpyshyn, I know he's done. He doesn't want to. He don't even want to talk about those books. He don't want to promote something that he's not getting paid on, or he feels he got screwed over rights on.
yeah. I don't know though. He's waiting for his call from Lucasfilm. He says I'd love to write things, but no
But
one's
they won't let him come back. And the thing is,
yeah,
though, I'd love for him to just say, "I'm publishing this as a fan fiction," and people would flock to it. Flock to it. I don't think if he's publishing for free and publishing under a fan fiction, even if it's under a pen name that everyone knows, I think that'd be fine. I don't think
yeah,
everyone's afraid that Lucasfilm's going to come after you. If it's a fanfic that no one's making money off of, my question is, how do they come at you? How do they come? They're already, no one's calling Drew. No one's, and if they haven't called you in 15 years, not to be mean, I don't think they're going to call. So write a fanfic, publish it for free. There's nothing they're going to do.
Yeah, I think it's maybe just a matter of professional reputation, right? Like they're in the industry and they used to write for this, so it's almost, I don't
Both.
know.
I want the person who hasn't written, they haven't been an author in a while. I want Barbara Hamley, Fever
Yeah,
Dream Part 3. I want something. I mean, anything out there. And go ahead, write a little fun thing. I remember Kevin Janderson did a Kickstarter where for $1,000 or 5,000, he would write one novel of anything you wanted, only one copy for you, hardback bound, your exclusive book. Okay, great. But then he said no IPs. Well, if no one knows, I don't know. I mean, I was ready to back it for five K. He would have had 5K 10 times over.
this reminds me of that Wu-Tang Clan record that like there's only one copy of it that I think that like
Yeah.
Martin Shkreli owned or something like that.
Yeah.
This is like if I could, pay one of these authors hush money and just write me a story,
In a heartbeat.
I would
In a
lord it over all the rest of you. I would like read like a line from it and be like, "Oh wait, sorry, I can't."
Or just show it on the bookcase and
Yeah,
then cut the feed.
yeah,
There you go. All right, so that we'll cut it off there.
yeah,
Marcel, thank you so much for coming on.
for
This was
sure.
an
Thanks
excellent
for having
talk as
me.
always. Folks, in the comments below, thoughts on it. The question that Marcel asked is a great question. Do you feel like you don't want every mystery you don't want everything unsolved, or do you want every rock overturned, or are there one-off stories you would love to hear more about? Let us know in the comments below. Check out Marcel's channel. Marcel, pitch your channel. What you got coming up?
What do I have coming up? Oh boy, I have to blow the dust off this channel. You can find me on YouTube, The Revanchist. I do short story audios, which I'm hoping to get back into and continue going with the EU. I think I'm still in like the old Republic era, and yeah, one day when the kids get old enough.
One day when the kids get old enough, I'll do it
Yeah, and I
again.
can I can actually get back to my YouTube channel, but it's all there. There's like 120-ish videos on my channel. There's some live streams like breaking down supernatural encounters we've talked about. We're hoping to maybe do some live play stuff in the future. I have like 2 unboxing videos, but yeah, I don't know. Go to Matt's channel instead. I'm sure you'll find something much more riveting there. Clone Wars, Clone Wars reviews, my favorite.
There you go. Rewatching the Clone Wars. All right, folks. Then we will see you next time on A More Civilized Age. Meg and Ryan will be back with or without their house. We don't know how the hurricane's going to treat them. But anyway, we'll see you next time.